Welcome to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Alton West. Today I'm going to have guests on from the City Hall and also I have a guest on from West Georgia Health. So stay tuned for those interviews coming up in just a moment.
At LaGrange College, your journey toward achievement may take you in many different directions. The arts, law, ministry, medicine. Experience LaGrange College, one of the South's most affordable, highly ranked institutions, and leave transformed. Discover more at lagrange.edu/transform.
Welcome to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. Today my guest is on from the City of LaGrange. I have on the web designer and developer, Nikki Nix. Nikki, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alton, for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to sit down with you. And you know, you're going to be talking about something that I'm just going to go ahead and confess up front. I don't have a great deal of knowledge about web designer or development, anything like that, but I know that you really enjoy what you do with the City of LaGrange, right? Well, great. Nikki, talk a little bit about your journey here with the City of LaGrange, if you don't mind.
I've been with the City of LaGrange for 6 years and a few months. Started December 31st, 2007. And I started out with IT support. Okay. And then for the year and 2 months now, I have been doing web development. I went to Columbus State and got a master's in software development. So that's what got me promoted to that.
Well, great. You know, I also have a master's from Columbus State University as well.
That's awesome.
It's
a great school.
It is a great school. You know, I did that some years ago when I was down in the police department, continuing education program. So as the web designer and developer for the City of LaGrange, I know that we have a web page that our citizens can go out and look up various information. Talk a little bit about our web pages, if you don't mind.
The web page is just for the citizens and any visitors of LaGrange, Georgia, that want to know a little more about the city, such as our departments, our services, what the city council does, and the mayor, and any events or anything like that, any latest news, press releases, so on. It's pretty informative. It is,
and you're responsible for updating this?
Yes.
And how frequent do you update it, Nikki?
About every day.
Every day?
We always have something new coming out. Like jobs or news, something to that extent.
Okay, all right. And, you know, I go out and I utilize our page from time to time. There's a lot of information there. And talking about that, I need to get some things updated in my area there as well. But that's a big task there, to have a web page and to have it something that's appealing to our citizens and visitors, as you mentioned, that will make them want to come back to that site each time.
That's right.
Talk about some things that are going on, and I know that there's a new app that you've been working on. Let's jump in and start talking about that a little bit, because I know it has a lot of features, a lot of things, helpful information that our citizens and visitors can look at. Talk a little bit about the concept to come up with this new app.
Okay, the City of LaGrange needed an app because everybody's mobile right now. So we wanted to have a tool for citizens or any visitors to be able to interact with the city. So we developed this, and we called it City LG.
Okay, very good. And I know that we're gonna, I want my viewers to understand that you have an iPad here, and I'm gonna be watching a monitor as you kind of walk us through some of the features that are on the app. Let's go in and jump into it, if you don't mind, Nikki. Tell us the first thing that the first thing that people will see when they go onto the site there.
Okay, so when you get the app from the App Store or from Google Play Store, you'll find that you have your main screen here, and you have 4 buttons. The first button is your Find City Info, and this is a really great feature. It lists all our services and departments for the city, and if you click on one from that list, it will actually plot on a map, and you will see with a marker, this is LGTV, and then this is the address.
Oh, okay. If
you need more info, you can click on the Info button, and it lists a photo as well as LGTV's contact information and a description.
Okay, good.
If you go back and you go back to your map, you can actually plot your location, so you can actually see where you are, so you can get an idea of a distance.
Okay.
And you can turn on a satellite feature so that you can see the aerials of the place instead of a street map.
Oh man.
And going back, we can go to Connect. And Connect basically just puts all of our websites out there for you, and also other places that we're associated with.
Okay.
So you have LaGrange Television, and it connects to, it has your City Week videos.
All right.
So you can play those and watch on.
And you mentioned earlier about like city council or the mayor. If a citizen was interested in contacting one of the mayor or the council members, can they do that from this app as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They could actually go to their, and from here they can fill out this form.
Okay.
They can contact city and put in a brief description.
Okay.
Need help. And then they also have, if they need to, the option to take a photo.
Oh man. Okay.
Use it and submit. And that will go through your email.
Okay.
And it goes to suggestions@lagrangega.org.
Okay, very good. And I know that a lot of times people call in and they speak with our executive secretary and want to leave a message for the mayor. So this is an instant way to get a message to the mayor.
Yes.
And the mayor returns all of the phone calls, or he makes sure that the staff makes sure that it gets back with individuals.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, a lot of times, people riding throughout our city and they may see, a pothole. Most common thing. Can they report that there as well?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay. And where do they just go again? Go to the suggestion area?
The submit.
Okay, the submit area. Okay. All right. Very good. What are some other things that they have there?
They can actually pay their bill
Ah.
or their fine.
Okay.
So we have a way for them to go out to the website to pay your bill, your utility bill,
Okay.
and then you can also pay your fine if you have one with PD.
Okay, with the PD or municipal court there.
Court,
Okay. Now, and I'm going to assume, but I want to ask a question. These are secure sites. We talking about paying bills. These are secure sites that
Yes,
people.
sir.
Okay, very good. All right. And I know that of course, you talked about the departments. The gas department, electric department. Can they send emails to employees via this application as well?
The contact information is listed,
Okay.
so that they can do that. And let's see. So they can get their information from here and give them a phone call, or
Okay.
they can go back to their submit
Okay.
request, and it will get forwarded to the right
Okay.
department head. Or
To the right. Okay. Now I noticed when you went to like I guess not the home page, but the page after there was a list of various services there. What are some of those other services, Nick, if you don't mind?
We have City Hall, Fire Administration,
Okay.
Fire Station 1 through 4, the police station, PD
Okay.
Training Center, Utility Service,
Okay.
Sewer.
All right.
Good list.
A good most of
Yes.
everything throughout
There's
the
about,
city.
I want to say 18 on here.
Okay. All right.
So.
And I guess one of the other things that I hear that comes into the executive secretary from time to time, someone may be out riding and they may see an animal, a dead animal
Yes.
alongside the road.
Yes.
They can also report that here
Yes.
as well. And I guess that's where the picture can kind of come in place there, take a picture of it.
Yes.
Okay, well, very good. And how long did it take you to design something like this, Nikki?
Well, I would say with involving testing too, because you do have to put in some time for that. I would say for the iOS app,
Okay.
it was probably about 3.5 months maybe. And then for Android, it's about the same, 3.5.
Okay, all right. Now you talked about the ISO app, and you also talked a little bit earlier about the Android. Now, how can citizens go and access this app?
They can, for Android, they can go out to Google Play Store,
Okay.
and they can type in the keywords to search City LG and LaGrange. And then also for iOS, you can find it in your App Store.
Okay.
And the same, search by LaGrange or City LG.
Okay, so just basically go out to either one of those stores there and download City LG, and then download. And it is free to the
Yes, it
citizens?
is free. It's free to
All right.
everyone.
Okay, and let me ask you now, if someone has an error and they're trying to download it, if they encounter an error while they're trying to download, or once they've downloaded the app and they encounter an error, what do you suggest that they do?
Please report it so that I can know, so that I can fix the bug as soon as possible and throw out an update.
Oh, okay.
It's
Have you
very
seen?
helpful to know.
Okay. Have you seen any at this point? I know with any
Yes,
technology.
I did encounter one with Android, and I had someone submit the crash, and that helped me to figure out exactly what was wrong and to get rid of that bug and re-release an update.
Oh, okay.
So it's great when people give me feedback.
Okay. Now you said submit the crash. Now help me to understand.
So if the app crashes and it says, for example, on Android, unfortunately, app has stopped, then you would know it's crashed. So you can submit that in and say, okay, I'm reporting that this crash happened.
Oh, okay. Okay, and that comes directly to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very helpful.
Let me ask you, if someone was listening here today, Nikki, and they wanted to download the app and they need a little assistance like I did, is there contact information that you can give them to kind of help guide them through?
Yes, they could email support@lagrangeja.org.
Okay.
Or also just call 706-883-2071.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. We're sitting down today, ladies and gentlemen, with Nikki Nix with the City of LaGrange, our web developer and web designer, who's just unveiled. Now, how long have this been out and available to the public, Nikki?
The Android has been available since February. We did have the iOS app out, I want to say November, but we weren't really advertising it at that point.
Okay.
We were waiting for Android.
Well, okay. Well, very good. And we're unveiling an app that's free to the citizens and visitors to download and learn a little bit more about our city, right? Well, Nikki, we want to thank you very much for coming on and sharing this information. We hope that we don't have a lot of crashes, but we hope that we get a lot of requests.
But yes, it's helpful.
Absolutely. Well, Nikki, thank you very much for coming on and
you.
sharing the information today.
Thank you very much.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're back for more City Week in just a moment.
Why United Way? Because in some way, everyone in our community is touched by your donation to United Way of West Georgia. Yes, everyone. United Way helps 25 local agencies touch thousands of lives, even yours. To cause so many good things to happen, these organizations must have volunteers. Fortunately, more than 2,300 local volunteers are now giving time to the 25 local organizations that United Way of West Georgia helps support. Yes, more than 2,300 volunteers. But more are needed. Please volunteer your time, as well as your financial support. You'll be astonished at what you'll receive in return.
Welcome back to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. Now I have sitting down with me to talk about something that we all can benefit from. I have Denise Blanton, registered dietitian from West Georgia Health. Denise, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Good to be here.
It's a pleasure to sit down with you, and as I stated, this is something that we all can learn from. Even though we probably try to eat healthy throughout the course of a day, I'm sure there's some things that we could add that really could help to enhance what we're doing. Talk a little bit about your role, first of all, Denise, as a registered dietitian.
As a registered dietitian, you have many hats because you work with a lot of different disease states. I mean, you talk to people who are struggling with diabetes and need to manage their blood sugar. You talk to people who are trying to manage their blood pressure or their blood cholesterol, or even, you could find yourself talking to cancer patients, lots of different patients. So we try to individualize the diet for the patient. But my primary role at the hospital, we have lots of dietitians there, but I'm the director of bariatric services, so mostly I'm involved with patients who are obese or morbidly obese and looking for, a solution to that.
Oh, okay. Now you said obese and morbidly obese. Talk about the difference between those two, if you don't mind.
There are differences. You can go online and look up your body mass index, which is just a formula. It's a height-weight ratio. You can go to the CDC website. You can go to wghealth.org and go to our website and find that. But a body mass index for someone who is overweight is usually 25 to 29.
Okay.
And that's where, it's where you really want to get the problem in control, because at a body mass index of 30 is where we see the risk really increase rapidly, and as for different health conditions, and as that BMI goes up, it gets usually worse and worse. So at 35 or greater with one comorbidity, whether it's diabetes or sleep apnea, most insurance companies will usually cover a surgical procedure for that. And at a body mass index of 40, it's where your lifespan is greatly cut. If your body mass index stays at 40 or greater, you can see a decrease of 8 to 10 years of life and a higher risk for a lot of the different diseases associated with obesity, which we know about 40 different disease states are associated with obesity. So as the BMI goes up, it is problematic.
It is.
Definitely.
Sounds like it. From 25 to 29, you're kind of in the safe range. Anything above that is kind of a look at closer. I would
Yes,
say.
statistically you're still overweight between 25 and 29, but when we really see the health risks start to multiply is over 30. And 30 is defined as obese, and then at 40 is when we would describe that as morbid obesity.
Morbid, okay. All right, very good. And I'm going to come back to the BMI in just a moment, but do we see a growing epidemic in our community, Denise?
Absolutely. I even have some statistics here from the CDC. If you're interested in really looking at the epidemic, you can go on to the website and just see how that's grown over the years. They have population charts that just show you state by state. It's incredible. But right now, about a third of adults are obese in the United States. It's 36% of adults, and if you want to know that in millions, it's 72 million Americans. So that's what we're dealing with, and that's up about 5% from just 2000. So we see that growing and not, we're not in good control of it, basically.
And that becomes a problem because you said about 40 associated diseases that I guess accompany obesity and things of that nature. Going back to the BMI, talk a little bit about how a person can determine what their BMIs are.
There's a formula. It's a height weight calculation, and you can actually just plug it in, your height and your weight, on the CDC website, or you can go to wghealth.org, and under weight loss surgery, it'll calculate your BMI, and it's where it's asking you, are you a candidate for bariatric surgery? And most insurance companies don't cover bariatric surgery for overweight. It's usually when the overweight is causing a medical condition where you really see where insurance coverage kicks in. And we know that right now obesity accounts for about 21% of healthcare dollars in the United States. So we're looking at a huge impact for obesity on healthcare.
You were talking about the various diseases that accompany obesity, and I think one, I guess I'm going to share is the first one, but type 2 diabetes. Talk a little bit about that and the association with obesity.
With type 2 diabetes, we see about 80% of people with type 2 diabetes are obese. So it's a twin epidemic is what it's being called now. In fact, the recent walk we had in town, we named Diabesity, and we're just a play on the diabetes and obesity epidemic together. We know as weight comes down with people with diabetes that many times the blood sugar comes down also. So excess weight can interfere with insulin and cause the body to have to make more and more to or make the pancreas make more and more insulin, and insulin is a fat storage hormone. So the more circulating insulin you have, it can actually cause more weight gain. So you've got this just revolving situation where excess insulin can cause weight gain, but insulin can help bring blood sugars down. So it's quite a challenge for people with diabetes.
So I was going to say that's why it's so important to try to keep the weight down in the event that you have to go on or be medicated. Now, I want to talk a little bit, because we're talking about obesity. What do you feel like are some of the leading causes of obesity, Denise?
I would think the major one is decreased activity. I mean, we're very, very sedentary. And if you're moving, you're stimulating insulin at the cell wall, you're taking up sugar in the bloodstream more effectively. And you've probably heard of how sports nutrition, the athletes are always trying to carbohydrate load.
Right.
So they're trying to keep their blood sugars from dropping. So there's all these sports drinks and different products designed for athletes to help them get that carbohydrate in, get that sugar up. whereas most Americans don't need those high carb beverages or those high carb foods because we're not moving, we're sitting more. So I mean, really just keeping moving is going to help protect you.
Okay, okay. Let's go back to the Play 360 that the NFL is trying to promote for our young kids. You know, because talking about you were saying about 80% of type 2 diabetes. We even see diabetes being in young children at a very early ages now as well. Is that correct?
Yes, there is some statistics here. The rate for obesity in children tripled from 1980 to 2008.
And that's not good.
That's not good.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about, because dieting is one way and healthy eating, but then other ways to lose weight. We were talking about before we came on about your diet program versus surgery. And in your opinion, what do you feel like is, I'm not going to say ask for the best one, but what do you think to be the most effective?
There are varying opinions, and really the surgeons like to work with the patients individually and say, this one may be the best one for you because you have this, and this disease, or you have these conditions. But overall, as a dietitian, from my perspective, I think the bariatric sleeve seems to be the one where patients don't have to make as many food changes. Okay. They can still eat the similar foods that they like. Of course, we're always encouraging them to look for the lower fat, no added sugar type foods, plant-based diet, high fiber, all of the same information we would give a non-surgical patient. Okay. But with the gastric band, there are some food restrictions. There are some things, sticky foods, pasty foods like pastas and breads and things that they may have a hard time tolerating. And with the gastric bypass, for those patients, they would have to avoid all added sugars and alcohol because it can be problematic with the bypass because they're actually bypassing part of the small intestines, which causes a quicker travel time for those sugars and alcohol to hit the blood. So the sleeve has the fewer lifestyle changes, or food changes, I should say, and I think as a dietitian, I see patients are a little bit happier with that because they don't have to have as many food restrictions. Okay,
well, very good. And you also brought in a chart here, Denise, and I want to just kind of point out some things. I think these are some talking about the more pounds, then it affects the body as a whole. Talk a little bit about that.
And for someone who's struggled with diets and exercise for many years, I think considering weight loss surgery is a good option. I mean, you can go online and to our website at wghealth.org and get more information about weight loss surgery. But what we see, individuals with a lot of disease processes that are caused by obesity, after they have the weight loss surgery, many of them are resolved. This is a chart that you can go online and get. It's a chart from Cleveland Clinic where they compared a lot of different studies on reduction of comorbidity. And what they found, and probably I think one of the most important findings is that for type 2 diabetes, that it was resolved in 83% of the cases. So we're talking about thousands of patients in several studies, and so those were pretty powerful numbers. So someone whose diabetes is out of control and they're having a really hard time with the weight loss because they're taking large amounts of insulin and that type of thing, it would be something to really consider. That's right. To turn the diabetes around, because we know diabetes is so damaging to the body. Absolutely. But also other things like high cholesterol levels, we see that resolved in 63% of surgical patients. Cardiovascular disease is reduced 82%. Hypertension 52 to 92%. So lots of improvement that we see from the surgery. Obstructive sleep apnea. So if you're struggling from one of these problems and weight is aggravating that, and you've been on multiple diets and tried lots of different plans and it just hasn't worked for you, I think it's time to consider weight loss surgery.
Okay. And there's so many others that you have here on the chart. I'm looking up here talking about migraines as well. And it seems like, and I want you to point out the quality and the mobility here in a moment, but it seems like there's so many more things that as a result of being obese or a little bit more weight than you need on the body.
Absolutely.
I was looking at degenerative joint diseases as well.
Yeah, and we see Obesity now is considered a disease because the science behind it has found a lot of different hormone involvement and genetic involvements where we see that excess fat can cause biochemical changes in the body that create these different disease processes. And it's having excess weight is inflammatory, so that inflammatory process is what kicks off the biochemical changes in the body and causes a lot of these different problems. So if you can get the weight down, we see quality of life improved in, like you said, about 95% of patients, and the mortality rate, 89% reduction, 5-year mortality rate. So like I said, as your BMI goes up to 40 or 45, you could lose, 8 to 10 years of life.
That's going the wrong direction, too.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
exactly. So there's a lot of benefits to staying at a healthy body weight.
Absolutely. Well, Denise, very good information. Let me just ask the question. If someone here was listening and wanted to ask you a couple of questions about maybe weight loss or some of the surgical procedures and things of that nature, do you have a contact number that you can give them?
I do. If they forget it or don't write it down, they can just go to the website, and under weight loss surgery, they'll see our phone number, and it's 706-880-7318. Or they can call the hospital directly and ask for bariatric services if they don't know the number or don't remember it. But a lot of the information is on the wghealth.org website. They can also go on there and they can click on each of the surgeons. We have 2 surgeons that perform the procedures, and they can read about the different surgeons. They can study about the different procedures. They can see when we offer seminars. Both the surgeons do live seminars that tell about the advantages and disadvantages of each procedure, describe the risk and benefits of each procedure, and really give them a chance to explore. And those seminars are free, so there's no cost. It's free to the community to come to those.
Very good, because with 80% type 2 diabetes and 1/3 of the population being obese, it's time that we do something about that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, because it's costing not only them, but it's also costing others that are associated with them to have to combat that disease.
Economic costs, quality of life costs, and so many costs.
Absolutely. Well, Denise, thank you for coming in and sharing this information with us today. Very helpful information, and as I stated earlier, this is something that we all can benefit from.
Most people can, or either know someone who can.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Denise, for your time today.
Appreciate
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more City Week coming up in just a moment.
At LaGrange College, you'll find your professors to be encouragers, trusted role models, mentors. Discover learning relationships that transform at one of the South's most affordable, highly ranked institutions. Challenging minds, inspiring souls, transforming lives. Discover more at lagrange.edu/transform.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining for City Week this week. My guests have been from City of LaGrange City Hall, Nikki Nix, web developer and also designer, as she talked about the recently released app for our citizens and visitors for the City of LaGrange. Go out and download the app, and by all means, if you have questions, give her a call. Also, I had on from West Georgia Health, registered dietitian Denise Blanton, as she talked about obesity and its effects on the bodies. By all means, ladies and gentlemen, she gave out some very helpful tips. And if you have additional questions that you'd like to ask her, give her a call or visit them at West Georgia Health. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've enjoyed those interviews. And as always, I want to invite you back for more of City Week.